Hi, I'm Eddie Burke. I've been the bartender at the Hollywood Improv for 40 years, and this is my podcast, Eddie's Bar at the Improv. Hey guys, I want you to know that this Ladies of the 80s was sort of an experiment for us. We had a lot of audio problems. This is episode 51, and we're going to work on this, and hopefully we'll have these ladies back. So just bear with us, and hopefully you'll get something, be able to hear a lot of this. And we will redo this one again at a later time. Thanks, guys. All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to another Eddie's Bar at the Improv podcast, pandemic edition. This is my pandemic beard, guys. That's going to go in about another week because I was read a riot act by my wife. Today we have a very special bunch of guests, and I titled this Ladies of the 80s. These are some women that worked with me in the 80s. We have Loretta Rains. Say hi, Loretta.
Hello, Loretta.
Nancy Blair.
Hi, everybody.
Gwen Kenneally.
Hello.
And Barbara Dowling-Torre. And you didn't say hi, Barbara.
I didn't. Did I come up?
Yeah, you're there. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay. Well, let's start. Let's get right to the chase here. Let's start with you, Loretta. How did you first start working at the Improv?
I moved to LA in the end of October of 1980, and I needed
Pretend
a job.
You're not so bored, though. Okay.
I'm sorry?
Pretend you're not so bored telling the story.
I'm not sitting in position. I'm used to doing this on my I needed a job, and I was driving down Melrose one day with my roommate, and we had been to an art gallery, and she said, "I hear that's a pretty good place." And I was dressed fairly nicely on that day, and so I went in and applied, and they called me the next.
Yeah.
So
And these days, where are you working these days?
I can't disclose that publicly.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Some people I don't want to know where
Blair, I am. How did you get started at the Improv?
Who?
Nancy Blair. Nancy, can you hear me? Nancy?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I lost you there for a minute. I'm back. Did you ask me when I started at the Improv?
Yeah, how did you get started at the Improv?
I actually did the same thing. I moved to LA and wanted to pursue a job in acting, a career in acting, and I needed a job. And so I actually went over to the Moustache to apply, which was right across the street. And I looked across the street and I saw the Improv, and I thought, oh, geez, I like stand-up comedy. I'll just run over there. And I talked to Fran, and Fran said, you remember Fran, she said, we don't have anything, but we'll call you if something comes up. And lo and behold, the very next day, something came up. So that was in 1983.
Okay. And what are you doing now?
I'm a high school English teacher out in the Palm Springs area. I work for Palm Springs Unified School District.
Excellent. And Miss Kenneally, Gwen?
Well, same story. I went to the Moustache Cafe, and then I walked over and I saw the awning that said Hell's Kitchen. And I went in, and I saw Joanne Morgan at the hostess stand. She sent me to see Alita at the bar, and then they sent me to see Fran upstairs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's West Hollywood. It must be one of those kinds of bars. And they said no. And then Mark Lano chased me down the stairs, and he's like, wait, I need a swing girl. And I'm like, what?
And you decided to become a swinger. I love it.
I was a swinger because it meant you started in the showroom, and when the last show started, then you got swung into the dining room. And then I kind of took over the dining room because I'm more of a foodie than a comedy girl.
All right. And what are you doing now?
I have a catering business called Back to the Kitchen, and I'm a food writer. I have 5 books now.
Wow. Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah.
And Miss Barbara?
I got fired from the Comedy Store.
You got what?
I got fired from the Comedy Store.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Remember that.
And you just wandered into the improv.
I did. They said, you betcha.
And what are you up to these days?
I have a ultrasound business up in Florida. And I also have a Medi Spa where we do medical fillers and stuff. Yeah.
All right, ladies, let's get into what I want to talk about, which is what I want to hear from each of you, some of your most memorable moments, good and bad. And you can just go for it. No topic is taboo. Nothing is off, except for where the only thing we can't talk about is where Loretta works these days. Other than that, everything
Loretta's
can be
not
talked
been
about.
working for the last 10 weeks, but.
Well, yeah, join the crowd. I know. That's why we're doing it this way. Oh, okay. So let's, anyway, Nancy, let's start with you.
Oh my gosh. You want to just get into just some great gossip?
Yeah, just, what's good, what's bad. Then I'll tell you a story about you that almost got you fired that you probably didn't know about.
Uh-oh. Did it involve drinking?
Nope. No, that was never an issue. Ask Loretta.
I'll just jump right in with my favorite encounter with one of our favorite bar customers, Loretta Sampard. I was so in awe of him. Whenever I saw him, my heart just went pitter patter. And I'll make the long story short. He came into the bar 1 week before I got married. He sat right in front of me. And he sat there all night. And at closing, he asked me if I wanted to go to Vegas with him for the weekend.
You should have.
I've been waiting about 5 years for Sam Shepard to notice me. And I said to him, I can't. I'm getting married next weekend. And he said, well, he said, you're not married now, are you?
Yeah.
And I said, I turned Sam Shepard down. Wasn't meant to be.
That's beautiful. I mean, if you're going to turn somebody down, it may as well be somebody like that. He used to come in quite a bit. And most of the time, if he came in when I was there, I mean, you could see the look on his face change. Because he was looking for Loretta or something. He'd go like, Loretta working tonight? And go, no, not tonight. Oh, all right, I guess I'll go. Okay, or you can stay. It's okay. But Nancy, I'll tell you the story about you. I don't know if you remember this story or not. Mark came to me one day and he said, look, this is when I theoretically ran the bar. He said, I got a complaint about Nancy that she's been rude to one of our regular customers. And I
just
said,
the one?
Yeah. He should have been talking about you and me, Loretta. So he said, do me a favor, just keep an eye on her or whatever. And he told me who the customer was. I didn't want to, you might remember this. I don't want to mention his name. Anyway, funny enough, that same night, this guy comes up to the bar, this customer, and you're working with me, and he comes up and he goes like, he asks you out. And you very nicely said to him, I have a boyfriend, I'm sorry. So, I don't, date other guys. He turned to me as you walked away, and off of that simple conversation went, what a bitch. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I told Mark, what had actually gone down, and that was the end of that. But Mark was like, Mark, the customer in this case was always right. But not in this case. The customer was like weird as I witnessed the entire thing.
Aw, thanks, Eddie.
Oh yeah, so I kept you there another week. Did you meet Gene, by the way, at the Improv, or had you met Gene?
Oh no, Gene. This is my husband. For anybody who's listening, my former husband. We met when we were 20. I was 21 years old.
You there? Anybody?
We've lost her. Yeah, I'm here.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Nancy's not there. Nancy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Well, now, Eddie, can you tell us who the customer was?
I'll tell you later. I don't want to throw his name out there, but I'll tell you later. I just didn't want to throw it out on the air.
Is it someone that we all know?
I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a regular customer that came in all the time, and he was.
It was Mario.
No. I just spoke to Mario the other day.
Oh, how's he doing?
Okay. He's still alive. He's like, he sounded better than I do. He's like, you know, and he was supposed to have died 6 months ago.
I know.
But he's just, he said he feels good, and good for him.
Hi, Mario. We love you.
Rules anyway.
I know.
Gwen, how about you? You have some memorable moments?
Well, I have lots of stories. I also have a lot of secrets, and I promise I won't say any secrets.
No, I want you to tell secrets. We're good. Nobody's going to hear. I only have 3 listeners.
One of my favorite stories was the first night I met Robin Williams. And I was so nervous. Bud said, go get him a cup of decaf. And I was so nervous, and I'm shaking. And I have my tray here, and I'm shaking. And I put the decaf down, and I'm like, shh. And then my whole tray, all the creamer fell all over him. So he stay away from me, creamy.
Oh, that's,
he was a doll. I miss him. He was incredible.
Yeah, no, he was. Barbara?
I think the most memorable night was when Olympian athletes came in. Remember that, Loretta?
I didn't understand what you said, honey.
When the Olympic athletes
Oh, yeah.
came in,
Yeah, that was.
everybody in the whole bar and dining room stood up.
Yep, I remember that.
It was the men's gymnastic team.
Men's gymnastics team, yeah.
See, I didn't.
You know what
that.
else was a good night was when the Australian water polo team came in.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we know what gets to you ladies, don't we? I have a question for you, Barb.
Yeah.
I always found it very odd that you dated a gentleman named Stephen Wright. One of the most, an unbelievably funny and nice guy, without a doubt. But somebody who's very quiet. I would remember him sitting at the bar if we were working together, waiting for you, and he just wouldn't say a word. He'd just sit there. Did you do all the talking for that combination?
Absolutely. Yeah, he was a brilliant man and an interesting boyfriend.
Yeah, to say the least, I'm sure, because he's he's still going today. I think he's back in New York, but he's like I just could never figure.
I think
Boston. No, I stand corrected.
He actually lives in the woods outside of Boston.
that's a good place for him.
He's a lion.
So, what are some? Is there a moment for any of you that like you hate about the club, that you regret about the club? Something that was like I don't know. You go like, if I could turn back time, I would just kick the shit out of that guy or whatever. Something that I should actually pass Loretta by on this one. But
on any given night, there was somebody.
Yeah.
But often it was one of the owners. Yeah, I won't mention names either.
Yes, I know.
I remember when we went from writing our orders and writing our stuff to the computer. It was an old microsystem. Do you guys remember that?
Yes, I do.
And it was a nightmare. And for some reason, in the dining room, we would buy tickets to the show for our customers, and we'd put it on the back of the check. Well, they didn't have it connected up at the first week, and Mark was so mad. And his neck, you know, the veins would be popping out of his neck. And I ended up with like $600 more than I should have. And I'm like,
girl,
Mark, I think there's something wrong with this machine. And he's like, I don't want to fucking hear about anything wrong with the machine. There's nothing. It's you. And I'm like, well, okay, I guess I must have had a really good night because I made over $600. Wait a minute, come back.
That's because that system was made. We went somewhere to see.
Yes,
it
we went to classes, and then because things were so screwed up the first couple of nights, they brought that gal in.
Yeah.
She was there for like 3 or 4 nights.
Well, that system was not for a restaurant. It was for a warehouse.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it was not for a restaurant. And from what I've been told is that the reason we got it is because it was so cheap. But
there you go.
There you go.
I mean, and that has to make sense, right? It's like a cheap system. And I mean, that was probably one of the worst systems, even though I still hate computers. One of the worst systems we ever had. That was just
wine machine behind the bar.
Say that again.
I used to keep our purses in it.
Wow. I mean, you could have
a restaurant and hired the maid to be a bartender. It was a nightmare.
And you could have Bud come behind the bar and try to look at the computer. Bud does not have a clue.
I don't remember ever coming behind the bar.
I know. It's like, you know, just could I have a dry sack or whatever he drank back then?
Blanc de Blanc.
Still, yeah, now champagne.
What about when he got the frozen Oasis machine?
When he got what?
It was like made like tropical drinks. He put it in the showroom. And
oh, jeez.
We're trying to sell 600 drinks in 2 hours.
Are you kidding? Well,
back there.
You should have seen what they were doing, I guess, about 6 months, a year ago with some of these drinks. They had like, drinks that took 5 minutes to make.
Right. Muddled blackberries.
Yes, this berry, that berry. It's like, finally, they got rid of most of them except 1 or 2, and they're not much of a hassle. But I can't figure out how people can run a club, no matter who they are, want to make as much money as they can, and have things on your menu or whatever that slows everybody down, especially in that showroom where you have got to get everything out quickly.
300 people at showroom shot. Well, at least in Santa Monica.
Well,
probably the cool thing for me was how the bar was its own entity, still is, I guess. Completely separate from the showroom. You had a life out there.
Loretta, you ran Santa Monica for quite a while. How was that down there for you?
It was a totally different experience. It never took off like the Hollywood Club, and part of it was the physical layout, because the showroom was downstairs and had a separate entrance, so people weren't necessarily hanging out at the bar the way they did at Hollywood, and it was just a different feel. It never quite took off.
It was it had a lot of space. I mean, you had what, 3, 4 levels?
3 floors.
There was the Mediterranean was the showroom, the big showroom. And then on the ground level was the bar and restaurant and the kitchen. And then upstairs was what they called the cabaret room, where they had different musical acts and various things. It just never, the setup at the bar, it just never worked well.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was such a big club. it never worked. And I think part of it too was because the location really was poor. It was off the promenade. It wasn't there. You had to walk, what, a block or two?
Just a block.
Yeah, but that's a lot for people that are just, believe it or not, just on the promenade, walking
the
up and
promenade
down.
wasn't like it is now.
Right.
It wasn't really that big a deal back then.
Yeah. Well, and that was what? It was a Tony Roma's?
Right next door.
Yeah, Tony Roma's was next door to where the Improv.
Yeah.
And then Tony Roma's burnt down, and I think there's a Hooters where the Improv was. I'm not sure. I don't go down there much anymore. But you know what I was thinking about, Eddie? Remember when we were doing Evening at the Improv, at the Hollywood Improv, and they had a cameraman and a grip behind the bar while we were working? The guys on the floor with the wires and the, all the equipment, and we're stepping over them literally to certain things. And the bar wasn't as deep as it is now. The whole different setup now.
Well, that was when they started with that. They had little skits before the show.
Yeah, it was
in between. Yeah, and so that's why they did that, which of course didn't go over well with you and me. I mean, they were just in the way, costing us money and business. But as far as
a guy literally lying on the floor behind the bar, the grip. Lying or moving the wires.
Oh, I know. I would just sit there sometimes, and it's like even now, if some manager or whatever comes behind the bar and starts helping out, I just stand there. I do nothing. I go like, okay, do it. But you're in my way. I can work faster without you. I don't need you. But if you want to work it, go for it. And they stand there with their fingers up their ass like they have, no, I just wanted to hang out.
Careful.
What's that?
I said, you still work there, don't you? Be careful.
Yes, I do. It's all right. It doesn't matter. I used to work there. It's been 10 weeks. Hopefully we'll all go back at some point. But that's, it's everybody wants to come behind that bar, and everybody gets in the way. And that's always been the way it is, and it's always going to be the way it will be. So
I think I prefer dancing on the bar.
Oh my God! Yes, I think that. Now, speaking of that, how did that all get started? Because you had to start that, Loretta, I'm sure.
Loretta started it.
What's that? I hear you not. Hello, Loretta.
Hello?
Loretta's frozen.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Back. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
How did dancing on the bar get started?
When we started I don't know, I just felt like it, I guess. And, a couple of mini Russians, and it was just fun on Monday nights when we had the dancing, and people liked it. They kind of came to expect it, I guess. And what, Boo?
You know what it was, Loretta? You had those tapes, and then Jim would make music tapes, and it was kind of slow on Monday nights, so we just started playing them and dancing, and it was really organic the way it happened.
Which all led to the dance nights on Sunday and Monday.
Right, and which led to dancing on the bar. So I have a great picture of
times.
I would remember nights, and I think nights maybe after Gwen, you stopped working there, when you and Linda Favilla and a few others would go like, "Hey Eddie, can we dance on the bar?" I'd go like, "Well, is Bud gone?" Bud's gone, yeah. Go for it. And he was usually gone by that hour anyway. But it was a trip. People loved that. That was our Coyote Ugly days.
I know, right?
And
what about when the Lakers were playing and let everybody order a drink or anything?
The Lakers were playing in what?
The Lakers were playing like in overtime. She'd be like, You do it. I got to watch this game.
Well, that always took preference. Whatever game was on, everybody always wanted to watch those.
Well, in the 80s, it was Showtime for the Lakers. I mean,
and we would get some of those people in. We'd get like, I don't know, Norm Nixon came in.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, who did you guys see there quite a bit celebrity-wise?
Will Chamberlain is there all the time.
Chamberlain.
And Clarence Williams.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
Nancy, who do you remember seeing like a lot of celebrities and stuff? Because I can go through a whole list. You know, we've all seen tons of people there.
Well, I mean, everybody I ever wanted to meet when I got to Hollywood, I met at the Improv. I mean, I was there 11 years, believe it or not. So, you know, it was like there wasn't anybody that I wanted to meet that I didn't meet. Or, you know, maybe not meet, but serve or see.
Right. Gotcha.
I remember probably I'd kind of like to share the biggest troublemaker, the person who drove us all crazy, Tommy Smothers.
Oh. He actually had
Tommy
a winery.
Smothers?
I loved his wine.
Yeah.
I used to buy his wine at Greenblatt.
Was it with you? I was working, and he stayed after hours and was beating on the front windows trying to get in. Was it you?
Yeah, you and I Sunday. He was not nice.
Oh yeah, he was a lunatic. He was one of these guys that our relationship was very simply, yo, give me a fucking drink.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't you know who I am?
In a very, you know, in a lovingly way. He was like he was one of those guys. That's just the way he was. But yeah, he was a little bit on the lunatic side. But you know, I personally, I remember like there's nobody in Hollywood that didn't come through there in the 80s for one reason or another.
Absolutely.
That includes like Clooney. I understand that I never saw him, but that Brad Pitt used to come in for like happy hour.
I don't remember
that. What?
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Oh yeah, Bruce all the time. Barbara Streisand came in for a benefit. Schwarzenegger. You name them. You know, and Evening at the Improv started and all and caught on even more. I mean, I remember Denzel Washington sitting at the bar before he was Denzel Washington, you know, when he was just on his way up.
I think I hold the record, though, of one of the few people that worked there that never kissed a Willis brother.
I did.
Oh, well, I didn't either.
I just remember having all these groups of friends, and one of them was dating Robert, one of them was dating Bruce, and one of them was dating David.
No Willis brother for me.
We're the ones then.
You guys remember
all my friends.
else I can't disclose.
That's right.
You guys remember Julie Martin, Kevin Martin, the cop, the little cop?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and his wife Julie.
Yeah, I just heard that.
I had her on, and she's also written a book that has a lot about the improv in the 80s. And she has a story about dating David Willis when she first got out here and going up to Bruce's house and sitting at the round table until Bud got there and asked who she was. And she left. It's like, I think it was a night that Frankie Valli was sitting there, Piscopo. I'm trying to remember her story, but and Bruce Willis and when Bud came over, Bud, oh, and who are you? And she's like, I'm gone. I'm out of here. But all of those people back in those days, everybody used to come in and hang out. It was, I mean, the 80s will never be duplicated.
You know who were regulars Eddie, on Sunday and Monday night for dancing was OJ and Marcus Allen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
They were there every Monday night and often on Sundays
Yep.
too, I believe, but then more
Well,
Sundays.
yeah,
And Cowling. Cowling. Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. We don't need to comment on.
No, that's okay. Throw it all out there. I want a lot of that thrown out.
I had a couple of nights. I got in trouble for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nah.
Marcus had to come up to the bar and apologize for him.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Dance nights, which was great and successful, eventually led to karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with that Barry started, and that was like that also became a big hit. Nothing near dance night, but at the same time, it also became so professional that it scared
Everybody.
those people that were just wanted to get up and make fools out of themselves couldn't do it.
Right.
Because, I mean, you had
Because Barry was so good.
Yeah.
yes, definitely, because he was so good, and then you'd have Tia Carrera get up and sing, and I don't know, just about everybody else. And I hate to admit this, but I think the very first or second night they did it, I went up. I came in, and I went up with you.
I can't believe I missed that.
You remember this a woman named Lori something or other. She used to sit at the end of the bar. She was a writer, a black woman. Anyway, she talked me into going up. She and the two of us, and there was a wig up in the office.
Oh, God.
She went up and got the wig and made me put it on. I put it on. And the two of us sang probably the worst rendition of Super Freak that you ever heard in your life. And that pretty much sums up my karaoke career. That was it. I went up one other time, and that one other time, I think one of my favorite songs of all time is like Up on the Roof by the Four Tops or whatever. And I have such a terrible voice. I started singing, and it was so people were looking like, okay, well, we won't say anything. And then finally, Barry came in and took over
And saved you.
Saved me and the song from probably utter destruction. But it was a tremendous hit for quite a while. Another one of our legendary things that we always had. It's I don't. Any of you guys ever go up for and sing up there? Huh?
I used to with Barry.
Well, with Barry.
I would come in on Sundays and I didn't work, and I would sing with Barry. Yeah, and sometimes by myself. Did a little Patsy Cline.
Zelma Livingston?
I'm sorry?
Zelma?
Yeah, Zelma.
Yeah, she was a manager there. We used to get something together.
Oh, you did?
Cocktails.
And Nancy, none of you? You don't sing?
I think I did one time, and it made me a nervous wreck, so that was it.
No, I have another story, and this is really true, and I swear. When I first came out to California, I had this 1967 Chevy Impala convertible. I mean, it was this like tank. And I am driving down Pacific Coast Highway on some afternoon, top down, singing my head off to some song. And somebody pulls up alongside me and goes, "Would you please shut up?" I was like, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yeah." He said, I heard that back here, and it's terrible." So my singing is quite legendary, always to the negative, unfortunately. But what are some are like? Do you guys have any really? I don't know, like Loretta. What the nights that you all would stay afterwards and
I don't know what you're talking about.
and late and you'd have like Willis and Goodman and all those guys and
Michael Fox.
yes, Michael J.
Yeah,
Fox.
Michael J. Fox, yeah.
All these guys. I mean, that kind of stuff lasted well into the 90s, really, with people staying late and all until
Well, I lived a block away from the Improv, and we often would go back to my place after with John Goodman and the whole crew, and we'd play Trivial Pursuit, and you always wanted to be on John Goodman because he was so smart.
John Goodman?
John Goodman, yeah, incredible.
Yeah, I'll tell you, some of the most enjoyable times for me is like listening to him and Bruce singing to the jukebox and getting the entire bar crowd usually into singing.
Decline.
Yeah, well, to me,
we had a great jukebox. We had a good jukebox.
Oh, we had the best jukebox. Barry Rabinowitz used to put that together, right. And that was like. I don't know, to me, with them, with John and Bruce Willis, that was the beginning of karaoke without it being called karaoke back then. Yep. People singing to that, and everybody just loved that jukebox. I mean, there was nobody. Barry spent so much time putting
I didn't realize that it was him that did that.
Yeah, it was. It was him that put it together. And I think I'm fairly sure Bud and Mark would just give him money every now and then and say, go buy some records, or that's when they were 45s and way back. For people that don't know, that's the smaller one.
Was it 45s, Eddie? Was it the jukebox 45s?
As opposed to?
I don't know. You're right.
It started out 45.
It was. I think. Are you trying to say that it was like albums?
No. I just didn't remember, but obviously you're right because. And then for dance night, I made cassettes from my own home. So it must have been. It was 45s. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember too that you used to make those, and that's what. Because I think I asked you one night, what do you guys play the music from? And I thought maybe they just played the jukebox, and you said no, you made cassettes and stuff, and like just kept them rocking, all night long.
Great music.
It's a really big deal to make a tape that Loretta would play dance night. Like that was privilege. She would play your tape, and she wouldn't if they weren't good. She'd say no.
I know that until we got rid of cassettes, that went on forever. Yeah. Hey, will you play mine? Will you play that?
Yeah.
Now it gets to like, can I plug my phone into the music and play my music?
Really? What is there a jukebox still there, Eddie?
No, there's no jukebox. We have a sound system off of an iPad, and so we play like either Pandora, Spotify, whatever it is we play.
So the bartender chooses what?
Pretty much, yeah. And there are a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of guys that come in that always like ask to play their stuff, and if the night's right and the crowd is right, I just let them go ahead and do it and take it over. That went on too with a lot with Nick Swartzen, the comedian. Nick used to come in and like just want to come behind the bar, and that's when we still had the cassette player down there at that far end. But we also at that time had phones, so he would plug in his phone and he would take over the music. It became a thing for people to just want to get involved with that music or get behind the bar. I mean, to this day, people say to me like, "Oh man, I wish Nick would come in and play music, or something like that." It's like it's just the way that the whole thing plays out. And
the bar has been very special.
The what?
The bar has been a very special bar.
Oh, without a doubt.
That's talented people that come in there, and
I know it, and it's like it's funny. I very rarely mention this, but at the same time, he is such a big part of everything, is Antonio, who's been there. And everybody that comes in is like, is Antonio still here? See, you're still here. It's like, is Antonio still here? And it's like, he's been through everything there too.
It was so nice to see him at your party.
It was great.
Oh yeah, it was so nice to have him there.
Louise.
And Louise.
Yeah.
My party was overwhelming. I mean, I was shocked as to how many people came. I was like, you know, I said to Rita in the middle, I called her during the day. I said, what if nobody comes? I said, you know, you want to call me and then I'll come over and let me know if there's anybody there. And like, you know, both my son and daughter went earlier. So before I got there, and it was, I walked in and it was like, oh my God, is this like, maybe there's another show going on or something?
The night was yours. It was fabulous. You deserve it.
Thank you. And it was nice seeing people that I hadn't seen in literally 20, 30 years. You know?
Same for me.
You didn't even know who I was.
Well, you know what's that?
You didn't even know who I was.
Oh, I know. I hadn't seen you in so long. And I remember you with that red hair. You know?
Well,
and you know
who I am?
Speaking of that, it's like somebody once came in, this was only about a year ago, came in and she's sitting at the bar and she says to me, whatever happened to Eddie? And I said like, well, I'm Eddie. And she said, no, you're not Eddie. Eddie had red hair and, you know, like, I said, well, you know, some of us change as we get older. And I could never convince her that I was Eddie. It was like, you know, that's how she said, no, I came in here for 10 years. Eddie had red hair. I said, yeah, but that was like 30 years ago.
Who was that?
He might have changed. It's like all we remember is people as we last saw them.
Yeah.
You know? It's like none of you have really changed much. I've changed quite a bit, but no, it's
Eddie.
No, but it's the truth. It's like, you know, other than recognizability, Nancy, because of the hair or whatever, but it's, you know, you don't see somebody for so long.
But you were also overwhelmed too. You could see, I watched you walk in and I could just see like,
oh God, yeah.
It was like, whoa, it was beautiful.
We got in and I said to my wife, I said like, I'm going to seat you. And then you probably won't see me till we leave. I couldn't get 5 feet without talking to somebody. And it was awesome. It was great. And it was like, I don't know. I was so humbled and just like, and the fact that all you guys were there was just so great. I had, I didn't think of it at the time, and I wish I would have. Every bartender save one was there.
Wow.
Everybody. Loretta, Barbara, Nancy, Dave Aubrey. You guys remember Bob Tully?
Mm-hmm.
Bob Tully. You remember Jessica Pappas?
No.
I don't.
Okay, she might have worked there a little bit before you, whatever. And there were like almost 8 to 10 bartenders. And it never struck me that I should have gotten a picture with all of us.
Oh,
that would, you know, that would have been so great. But even like people, I don't know, people whose best friends were there. It was so crowded. Didn't know they were there.
I didn't know Tully was there.
I said this. What's that?
I didn't know Tully was there for hours.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with it. I went over to, I forget who it was, to somebody, and we were talking for a second, and I said, did you see whatever, who's your best friend? And they go, no, they're here. I said, well, that's how crowded it was. It was crazy.
It was packed.
But it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, thank goodness we got it in when we got it in, because had they waited too much longer, we never would have gotten it in.
Exactly, like a week or so.
Yeah, and would have all gone by.
My son and I practically closed down the bar. Dave Aubrey gave us a ride home.
Oh, really? Dave Aubrey, yes. I've been trying to get David to come on. He won't come on.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know who I think about, Eddie, and nobody seems to kind of know where she is Trish. Remember?
Yes, I was going to mention the fact that she wasn't there. Trisha, who was a bartender.
Yeah.
Dated
Patrick Maloney.
Yep.
Yeah.
She left, and I don't think
she got married, and I don't think she worked there much longer after she got married.
No,
I took over her shift for Eddie. I worked the service bar with Eddie when Trish left.
Right, and I think, I'm not 100% sure that she also got divorced. I don't know why that resonates with me, but for some reason I think she kind of like got divorced. But she I don't know, maybe she went back home wherever that was. I don't remember.
I don't know either. I always liked her. She was a sweetheart.
She was very nice, and those also were the days of oh God, like you had Mario at the end of the bar. I remember Anthony Quinn's daughter, was it Valerie? This might be before you, Loretta. Valerie, Anthony Quinn's daughter, and her husband.
You were there a whole lot before me. When did you start?
79.
Okay, so a year, yeah.
What year did you start?
I started in November of 80.
Okay, yeah, so it wasn't that much of a difference.
Right.
But they're like, but when I started, it was basically me and Bob Tully. Bob Tully came on after, and that was then the people that hung out there were very deep industry people. It was like literally you had Robin's managers, Larry Bresner, David Steinberg. They were there every single night, every night. And Billy Crystal's manager, that's them too.
Yeah.
And these guys were constantly there. But the people that came in pre evening at the Improv were much more, I don't know the right word, deeply involved in show business.
Yeah, hardcore industry.
Yeah, like now, everybody's in entertainment, but it's mostly comedians and their agents or whatever.
Right.
We would get producers and directors and all that. I got my first SAG job from in there. With, over the bar from a friend of mine, and it was a driving job, and that doesn't happen that way anymore. It's
no, it doesn't.
No, the business is so much different. It's a whole other world.
So what's the vibe in there like now? Because I've only been when it's been reunions and whatnot. What is it like a typical?
It all, it varies every single night. There are nights when unfortunately it's kind of slow. Most of the time, everything now depends on the show.
Oh, wow.
If the show's busy, if we have Joe Rogan or whatever, we'll be very busy. We don't have the bar crowd that we used to have, but the people that I have to give them a little bit of credit because they're trying very hard to bring back the old vibe of, which is one of the reasons they threw my party, was to get people back in to the swing of coming into the Improv and to hang out. And, so they are working very hard at that. It's a tough nut to crack,
It is, because it was magic in the 80s. It just was.
Yeah.
And again, it's something, unfortunately, that will never be duplicated because of the times.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
These are different days. It's things are very much different. People are different, and it just won't be the same. And at the same time, it's okay. Because this is somebody's 80s, So,
I know.
I don't know who's going to lay claim to it, but
Much fun as our 80s.
oh, this will be laid claim to by, I don't know, maybe some of these up and coming comics that are off of YouTube. Yeah, you remember when I used to go on YouTube and then everybody would come out and watch me in a show and find out that I couldn't tell a joke. That seems to be what's going on.
Remember how exciting it was when one of our comics was on Carson?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then because it was filmed, so then they'd come into the club and, everybody would watch. That was so exciting for everybody.
That's right. Especially back then when you got on Carson, that kind of set your career going.
Absolutely.
And it's not the same anymore going on any late night show. It doesn't matter. And we still put it on and we still watch with the comedians and whenever anybody's on. But it doesn't lead to the same end for them that it did when you went on Carson. And it's again, different time, different vibe. Everything is going in another direction. And just hopefully it'll all live on after all this garbage that's going on. Hopefully we'll reopen. Everything will never be exactly the same anymore.
No,
but you don't want it to be.
No. It'll be different. But and look, people, we all will adjust one way or another. From this whole Corona garbage, we'll see how it all goes. Oh, I love you, Loretta. That's perfect. You guys, any of you have any other memories that stick out for you?
Oh my God, so many.
Well, say something.
You know what about, remember the Christmas parties?
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Christmas parties.
Say
The
that
holiday
again.
Parties.
The Christmas parties.
Oh, the Christmas parties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were insane. I know. When they stopped those, it was like all of Hollywood kind of died. I remember, I don't know how many they had down in Santa Monica. I started having them down there. And I had one of the Christmas parties that I went to. I was sitting at a table with my wife and Mario and Robert Blake. And Mario got up to go get a drink or whatever, and my wife asked me to get her, and I got up and got her a drink. And when I came back, she goes like, "Don't ever leave me alone with this guy again. He's crazy." And he didn't do anything, but he's crazy. Robert Blake, he was crazy. He was like, you couldn't, I mean, he's the guy that walked out with Bud's big cutout of, I think, Humphrey Bogart or James Cagney, or I don't know if you remember those. They were up on the top of the stairs, and he'd just take it out and took it home or something. But yeah, that's the Christmas parties. I have a picture of Michael Rappaport at the age of like 16 there.
Yeah.
It's and I'm holding Jared, my son, who was like 2 or 3.
Wow.
And even like, I don't know, I may even just have it just sitting here. Let me see if I can see if I have it. What's that?
How old are your kids now, Eddie?
Oh, they're both in their mid-30s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Here, this is it. Can you guys see this?
Oh my God. Wow.
And that's the Eddie with the red hair that woman wanted remembered. And that's Michael Rappaport.
Michael Rappaport.
Yeah,
Yep.
Wow. That's how I remember him. When I see him on TV, I'm like, where's that cute little boy?
Yeah, well,
he's curses all the time.
He's developed into a really nice guy. He's
super.
a really good person.
Great actor. Great actor.
Yes, yeah, he is. He's really developed into a nice, from what when he, I mean, I'm sure you ran into this too with him when he first started coming in there. You know, he was straight out of New York, and he'd be sitting in the restaurant area watching a basketball game, and people would be having dinner, and all of a sudden you'd hear out of the blue, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like,
now he gets paid for that. He gets paid for that. So good, God bless him.
Yep. Well, I went over to him one day and I said, "Mike," I said, "Look, man, there are people having dinner here. Can you keep that stuff down?" And he did, and it was no issue. But he came over to me later and he goes like, "Eddie, I really want to thank you for coming to me and not going to Mark. Everybody always runs to Mark and tells him if I've done something or whatever." Which was the truth. It's like, Michael's bothering me, the 16-year-old kid who started his comedy career there and really has developed into a very, very good comedian these days. He plays a lot of the different improv clubs and everywhere else.
He does?
Yeah.
Does he play the Hollywood Club?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really?
Everywhere, whenever he's around, whenever he's not acting. So do you have memories, anybody, of any of the Christmas party moments, Barbara?
Not that I can share.
Well, come on, Gwen. You're beginning to sound like Mary Ann.
I remember we used to have to pull out all the good booze and stock it with well. I went behind the bar and grabbed a bottle of cotton juice.
With
who was that? It was a star. and
Eddie, what? It's come on, Gwen. And how about your ex-former boyfriend, Tony Edwards?
Which one? No, Tony Edwards. Tony's living in Bali now.
Isn't he in
Thailand?
Fuck it, Thailand?
Thailand,
yeah.
Thailand. Yeah, we're kind of friends on Facebook, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thailand. He went to Bali and then he moved to Thailand, and I haven't seen him in many years, but I'm friends with him on Facebook, and
and he used to be one of our regular hosts.
I remember.
Yep.
Tony, along with Howard Allen.
Howard Allen,
Howard.
Everybody.
Howard.
So many of these old comics. When I had Kevin Rooney and Jimmy Vallely from the Funny Boys.
Sure.
And when we were all done, they were talking about, you remember this little guy that was such a dick? This is unfortunate. That's their memories of poor Howard, who I'm going to have on at some point. But it's, he had a thankless job.
He had moments of glory when he was running the Monday night open mic nights. Then really the little dictator.
Yes, well, I think that was it. And if I remember correctly, when he left, when he stopped working at the Improv, I don't recall what the issue was, but he went over to talk to Bud and Mark, because I'm not sure if he told me this story or Mark told me, but he went over to them and he said like, well, either this happens or I'm going to leave. And they said, well, thank you very much for your working here.
So long now.
And that was it. And I think he was left dumbfounded because he wasn't really wanting to leave. But they called him on his threat. And it's like, you don't ever want to ask somebody a question like that unless you are ready to leave.
Yeah.
But Howard was part of it, part of the regular hosts. Tony was. John.
Do you remember Mickey?
The server?
No, Mickey. I think she just worked as a hostess. Really short. She was going. Sure. Yeah, she was going to law school.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I don't. Nobody ever.
Listen, most of the time, I remember almost everybody. I can't remember everybody, but because I've got people come in and get pissed at me because I don't remember them. I mean, there's only been 50,000 people through there as employees.
I know.
And even if you worked there a year or two, I still may not remember you. I'm sorry. You know, I mean, we've had a million door guys, you know, with and even down, you had a bunch of them down in Santa Monica. Dave Rath, was Judd Apatow work? Did he work?
No, Alan Covert.
Yes, that's it. Okay, Adam's Sandler's partner. Yes, he worked there. You had a lot of guys down there, and like I said, and we had Daniel Baldwin, I think it was, or Billy Baldwin, one of the Baldwins, and Ricky Aiello, Danny Aiello's son.
Yep.
And God, I'm, you know,
remember Big Jim?
Right, Big
yes,
Jim.
oh, sure do, yeah. He was one of the early ones.
And Al.
Back. Who?
And his name was Al. I can't remember his last name. Good-looking guy, blonde hair, and he's a restaurateur. He's got, I don't know, 5 or 6 different restaurants in the LA area now.
Yeah. Really? Wow.
Yeah.
No, well, there's a lot of people.
Richard Miller, Jimmy Miller's brother, and Dennis Miller's brother. He was there for a while. He was so sweet.
Yeah.
Jimmy worked as a host there.
Jimmy
at the Hollywood Improv.
Yeah.
Jimmy did.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy worked there for a while. Well, Dave Rath, and both of them are two of the biggest comedy agents in Hollywood, really.
Wow.
Jimmy for a long time, and Dave too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that work there. We were talking about this, Mike and I, in our last episode, about how many people worked there and went on to industry jobs that were very big.
Eileen
Kahn.
Eileen, yes, she was one. And Les Moonves, who
I never knew he worked there until I watched one of your interviews.
Yeah, he worked there right before I started to work there.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew him fairly well because when I first came to LA, I played on a softball team that he coached or ran or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew him a little bit back then, and he ended up working at the Improv just for, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, something like that.
Right.
And God, who else? There's just so many of them. There's Callie. You must have known Callie Kirk, is it?
Yep. Corey.
Callie Corey, Thelma Louise.
Yep. And Ron Zimmerman.
Oh, Ron Zimmerman. Well, Ron didn't work there, though.
No, but he was with her. Didn't she write that about him?
Thelma Louise?
Yeah. Or she wrote
really?
Yeah.
That I don't know. I didn't know.
Wait a minute, Gwen. Not so fast. What do you mean?
She wrote one of her screenplays that was not. She wrote something about him. I seem to remember because they were together for a long time. She was in. I mean, they were, and then she wrote that right after they split up. That's my memory of it. She wrote it right after they split up, and then she won an Oscar. So.
Yes, she did.
Good revenge.
That movie became has a big cult following now.
Sure.
And actually Ron, who I knew a little bit, Ron actually got me a job as an actor on Seventh Heaven.
Oh wow.
It was very funny that one day I was sitting at the bar. I was working at the bar, and he was sitting there with somebody, and I was talking to someone else about how Seventh Heaven was one of the few shows my whole family could sit and watch together. Because the kids, when they were like 5, 6, 7 years old, 10, they loved it, and we enjoyed it. And he knew I was an actor, and he overheard my conversation. And he said to me, "Oh, you really like the show?" I said, "Yeah, it's good." He said, I write on it. You're gonna come. You're gonna be on it." And I was like, "Okay, thanks."
Aww.
And he followed through with that. And the part I played, a bartender on Seventh Heaven, but it was very nice of him. He didn't have to do that. He was a good guy. There's so many people like that used to hang out at the bar, like remember Jeffrey Kramer? Who was
Gary Belkin, remember Gary?
Oh yes, of course. How can I not remember Gary Belkin? One of Bud's investors, and there almost every other night.
Walter Miller. Yeah, they were in a lot.
Yep, Walter Miller, Stan Hanman, who was Bud's attorney, and he may still be. I don't know. all those guys that were also investors, and you didn't realize how many investors he had until Mark came aboard, and Mark stopped all the freebies.
Right.
He started going like, if you guys want to run tabs, that's fine, but every month we're going to send you bills, and you need to pay them, and which really shook them for a while, but eventually, when they started getting dividends instead of just drinking for free, I'm sure they appreciated it a lot more.
Yeah.
Any other memories, guys, before we wrap this up?
Well, 1,000, but I'm just having some audio problems. So every time I start to tell a story, I get cut off. So that's why I've been listening more than talking.
Yeah,
You've got some good stories, though.
The audio has really been. I think it's because there's so many of us, and we don't know. This is the first time we've done it with this many people. We've always done it with one, maybe two at the most, and this time you were the ladies of the 80s was an experiment, and I love it. It's great, and we'll have to do it again. I tried to get Eileen, and Marianne said no, but Eileen just never got back to me. And
Marianne said no?
Yeah, she said I'm not available till July.
Oh,
okay.
Wow. What you got going on?
I don't know.
Good for her.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she just didn't want to come on and talk about too much or anything like that. But, that's her choice.
Marianne didn't want to talk? Hello?
Yes,
I know.
Yes.
I know. Eddie, I wanted to tell you before I cut out that it was very gracious of you to go and stand by Bud in the showroom when he was speaking. And I really thought that was a very noble thing of you to do, and I really admired it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, if it wasn't for Bud, none of us would have been there,
Right.
And it's like the same thing. It's, like I said when I was up there in my brief stage, had it not been for him, comedy would have been a whole different ballgame.
Absolutely.
That's the truth.
And he is the founder of the whole kit and caboodle. He and his former wife, Silver.
Yes.
Who I had on a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, whatever. And I mean, the two of them started it all together, and it mushroomed into what it is now. And there's got to be 20 to 30 clubs throughout the country at this point. And if comedy gets back, and it will, there'll probably be more.
Right.
Of course it will.
So ladies, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I am going to send you guys are going to send me, all of you, email me your addresses. I'm going to send you this wonderful t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Bar at the Improv.
Oh,
and I will actually send these out this week, and you will get them.
Awesome.
And again, I don't want you to go away with nothing.
Probably will.
Yeah. But again, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Eddie. I love you all.
Love you guys too. You take care. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching or listening. We'll be on next week again. This will have been our 51st, Mike?
Something like that.
Yeah, and
congratulations.
The next one will be complete a year. The one after that.
Wow.
And
congratulations, Eddie.
Thanks. And we've hit every week. We've been very consistent. And thank you guys for all watching, listening, following. Tell your friends.
We enjoy them so much.
Yeah.
Oh, good. All right. Well, thanks again. And it's good to see you all. We will talk again very soon.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Guys.